Stop. Before you go any further, think about the last argument you had. What's the only thing you truly remember? Was it the start of the fight or the final insult? Your brain is fundamentally broken. It ignores the bulk of information and hyperfocuses on the last thing you hear. This isn't just about memory. This is the hidden cheat code to influence, sales, and success. I'm going to show you how to hijack this bias, but you must promise to stick around, because the single most valuable piece of advice in this entire video is waiting for you at the very end. Welcome to the phenomenon psychologists call the recency effect. Simply put, it's the cognitive bias that makes us remember the most recent information, or items in a list better than those presented earlier. Imagine your brain is a computer, but its temporary working memory is a tiny whiteboard. As new data name, a product feature, a fact is written on the board, it stays there for a few seconds. The information that came earlier, it's already being wiped away to make room. When I ask you to recall what you heard right now, only the stuff still visible on the board, the latest stuff is available. It's fresh. It's sticky. This is why if I gave you a list of 20 random items and immediately asked you to recall them, you'd nail the final 3 or 4. That's the recency effect at work. The first few items are also often recalled well. That's the primacy effect, which we'll cover later. But the middle? The middle is the memory graveyard. This principle is so deeply embedded in our psychology that it dictates huge outcomes. Think of jury deliberations. The closing statement, the last thing the jury hears before they leave to decide the defendant's fate, is almost always the most influential. It's the last note that rings in the ear. It's the final impression that sticks. Do you want to know the exact technique high-stakes lawyers use to weaponize this effect? It involves a 60-second rule. I'll share the secret to that rule and how you can use it to win any negotiation. But you'll have to wait just a little longer. Keep watching. It's hidden in the next segment. Let's look at where the recency effect dominates our lives. It's everywhere. In marketing and sales, a savvy salesperson always structures their presentation to ensure they're strongest. Most compelling point is the last one the client hears before being asked to sign. They lead with the good points, save the best point for the end, and then go straight for the close. If you're a buyer and you compare 3 different service packages, the one with the best final feature or the best last mentioned price guarantee is often the one that wins. If you sell anything, you must ask yourself, what is the final piece of information my customer hears? Is it a strong, memorable call to action? Or is it just thanks for your time? Big difference in presentations and public speaking. You could deliver an hour-long, brilliant presentation, but if your closing statement is weak, boring, or just a simple "any questions?" that's the feeling the audience leaves with. That final impression is the one they'll carry out the door. The last story you tell, the final quote you share. The ultimate takeaway slide, that's the note you should hit the hardest. The audience won't remember your brilliant introduction, but they will remember the feeling you left them with at the end. You need to treat your conclusion not as an ending, but as the most impactful beginning of their memory of you, in relationships and arguments. Have you ever noticed that a fight is often defined not by the core issue, but by the nasty final thing one of you said? That lingering last statement taints the entire exchange. Conversely, if you can end a difficult conversation with a positive, kind, or understanding remark, that recency effect will smooth over the earlier friction. We remember the last feeling, the last word. Use this knowledge to be intentional about your closing statements in life, not just in business. If you've ever wondered why an apology only works if it's the last word, the answer is coming up. Do not miss the explanation on how to use a memory sandwich to fix broken conversations. Now, let's address the cousin of the recency effect, the primacy effect. This is the tendency to remember items presented first in a series. Think of it as the first impressions stick rule. So, which one wins? Recency or primacy? The answer is, it depends on the delay. When the test for recall is immediate, recency wins. The information is still sitting hot in short-term memory. But if there's a delay, say 30 minutes or a day, the short-term memory is wiped clean and the primacy effect takes over. The items you paid attention to at the very beginning, the items that had time to be encoded into deeper memory, what survive? The middle is still lost. The secret? You need a memory double punch. You need a powerful opening and a powerful closing. But there is a trap. The recency effect is vulnerable to cognitive overload. If you present too much information too fast, it all becomes a blur and nothing sticks. If you hit your audience with 5 massive, complex product features one after the other, the last one might be slightly better remembered, but the overall memory will be weak. This brings us to the application of chunking. This is the key to mastering the recency effect in long-form content. When you present information, break it into smaller, manageable chunks. Think of a 45-minute webinar. You shouldn't just have one closing statement. You need mini closings after every 5 to 7 minutes. These mini closings act as multiple recency points within the overall presentation. You end one section with a powerful takeaway, give a short break, and then start the next section. By doing this, you're constantly refreshing the short-term memory and creating multiple last things that stick. I've been doing this throughout this video, haven't I? I keep giving you little promises of something amazing coming up next. Those are micro-recency CTAs, and they work. But seriously, the real game-changing application of this is coming up in the final 2 minutes. If you click off now, you will lose the biggest advantage you could possibly gain. Let's apply this to the ultimate memory challenge, learning a new skill or language. Most people study for an hour, start to finish, and then stop. The most impactful parts are the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes. Everything in between is far less efficient. The trick is to maximize your recency points by taking very short, high-focus breaks. Study intensely for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute physical break. When you come back, the first thing you study after the break benefits from a renewed primacy effect. But the 25-minute segment you just finished has a strong recency effect built into it. You're essentially turning 1 week long learning session into multiple strong short learning sessions. You're maximizing your brain's retention by intentionally resetting the serial position curve. Now, I promised you the lawyer's 60-second negotiation trick. This is it. In any high-stakes discussion, meeting, or argument, never let the other side have the last word. If the meeting ends with your opponent summarizing their position, they have weaponized the recency effect against you. Their final point will be the one that dominates the memory of every person in the room. The trick is to execute what's called the final clarification. When the meeting is clearly winding down, right after your opponent makes their strongest closing statement, you need to step in and say, "I think we've covered a lot today," to make sure everyone leaves with the same understanding. Let me just clarify my core position one last time. You then deliver your most persuasive single sentence, the one benefit, the one price, the one argument, and then you physically gather your materials and leave. You must deliver the final, positive, decisive statement. This is how you seize the last note, the last thing that sticks. And finally, the moment you've been waiting for. The biggest takeaway, the surprise application, the thing that changes everything. It's not about what you say or when you say it. It's about what you make others do last. The most powerful form of the recency effect is activated by action. When you want someone to remember a call to action, sign up. Share the video, buy the product, you don't just say it. You make them physically or mentally commit to it last. For example, don't ask someone to share this video and then give them a huge list of related videos to watch. Your list becomes the new last thing. Instead, ask them to hit the share button right now. Tell them why that specific action helps them immediately. Then thank them and end the video immediately. The action they take becomes the ultimate, most memorable recency point. This is the secret. The final surprise is this. If you want to master the recency effect, don't just optimize your final words. Optimize the final action the viewer takes. Don't let your call to action be followed by filler content. Make the button press the comment, the subscribe, click the literal, final, impactful act of their interaction. Now, prove you understood the lesson. The biggest compliment you can give me is to use the recency effect against me. Go to the comments. Tell me the single most impactful thing you learned, and then close the tab immediately. That action, your final focus, will lock this lesson into your long-term memory forever. Do it. The absolute most important tip is this: end strong.